For fans of NCIS Origins, few moments have generated as much excitement as the long-awaited first kiss between Leroy Jethro Gibbs and Cecilia Lala Dominguez. After weeks of simmering tension, lingering glances, and emotional vulnerability, the kiss felt like a reward for viewers who had invested in the pair's complicated connection. But if anyone thinks the romance is headed toward a happy ending, one of the show's stars has a very different idea. In a recent discussion about Gibbs and Lala's future, the actor hinted that the relationship may be destined for heartbreak rather than happiness. The comments have sparked intense speculation among fans, many of whom are now wondering whether the romance was always designed as a tragedy. And when you look closely at Gibbs's future, it's difficult to ignore the warning signs. After all, viewers already know how Gibbs's story ends, or at least where it eventually leads. The legendary NCIS agent becomes a man defined by loss. That reality casts a dark shadow over everything happening in Origins. The problem with knowing Gibbs' future. One of the biggest challenges facing NCIS Origins is that the audience enters the story with decades of knowledge about Gibbs. Unlike most television romances, viewers already know that Lala is nowhere to be found in Gibbs's future life. When Gibbs first appeared on NCIS back in 2003, there was never any mention of a woman named Cecilia Dominguez. Over the course of more than 20 seasons, Gibbs spoke about important figures from his past, including Shannon, Kelly, Mike Franks, and his fellow Marines. Lala's absence is impossible to ignore. If she becomes one of the most important people in his life, why has she never been mentioned before? That question has fueled countless fan theories. Some believe the relationship ends so badly that Gibbs deliberately buries the memories. Others fear something much worse. A tragic death could change everything. The darkest theory is also the one gaining the most traction among viewers. What if Lala dies? The possibility would explain nearly every mystery surrounding her absence from the main series. Gibbs has experienced devastating losses throughout his life. The deaths of Shannon and Kelly transformed him forever, creating the emotionally guarded man audiences came to know. Adding another tragedy to his past would fit the character's established history. It would also explain why Gibbs rarely discusses certain chapters of his life. Some wounds never heal. If Lala becomes someone Gibbs truly loves, losing her could leave scars that last for decades. The actor's comments about a potentially heartbreaking future only seem to add fuel to this theory. While no spoilers have been confirmed, the suggestion that viewers should prepare themselves emotionally has many fans fearing the worst. Duty may be the real villain. Not every theory involves death. Another possibility is that Gibbs and Lala simply cannot make their relationship work because of their careers. Law enforcement is demanding. Long hours, dangerous assignments, and emotional exhaustion often strain personal relationships. NCIS Origins has already shown how dedicated both characters are to their work. Neither appears willing to compromise when it comes to the mission. That dedication may ultimately become their downfall. Perhaps the pair find themselves on opposite sides of a critical decision. Maybe a case forces them to choose duty over love. In many ways, that outcome could be even more heartbreaking than a sudden tragedy. Sometimes relationships don't end because people stop caring. Sometimes they end because life gets in the way. For Gibbs, whose sense of responsibility borders on obsession, choosing the job over personal happiness would be entirely believable. The weight of Shannon's memory. Another intriguing possibility involves Gibbs's late wife, Shannon. Even though Origins explores a younger version of the character, Shannon's influence remains enormous. She represents the great love of Gibbs's life. The loss of Shannon and Kelly defines his entire emotional journey. What if Gibbs never fully allows himself to move forward? Lala may offer him a chance at happiness, but embracing that future could feel like betraying the memory of his family. The internal conflict would create powerful drama. It would also align with the version of Gibbs audiences later meet in the flagship series, a man who keeps most people at arm's length and rarely discusses his feelings. A failed relationship with Lala could reinforce those emotional walls. Instead of helping him heal, the romance might convince him that opening his heart only leads to pain. why the romance works so well. Ironically, the reason fans are worried is the same reason the storyline has been successful. The chemistry between Gibbs and Lala feels genuine. Their interactions carry a natural energy that makes every scene feel meaningful. The first kiss wasn't simply a romantic payoff, it represented months of emotional buildup. Viewers saw two damaged people slowly learning to trust each other. That authenticity has made audiences deeply invested in the relationship. And television history suggests that the more fans love a couple, the more likely writers are to put them through emotional devastation. Drama thrives on conflict. A perfect romance may be satisfying, but heartbreak often leaves a stronger impact. If the goal is to shape Gibbs into the man fans recognize from NCIS, then a painful ending may be unavoidable. A story designed for heartbreak? There is another reason many viewers expect tragedy. Prequels often operate under unique storytelling constraints. Because audiences already know the future, writers must explain how characters evolve into the versions seen later. Young Gibbs is more open, more vulnerable, and arguably more hopeful than the veteran agent fans remember. Something has to happen to close that gap. Lala could be a major part of that transformation. Whether through death, betrayal, separation, or simple bad timing, the end of their relationship may become one of the defining moments of Gibbs's life. The tragedy wouldn't exist merely for shock value. It would serve a larger narrative purpose. It would help explain why Gibbs becomes so guarded and reluctant to let people get close. The inevitable goodbye. For now, fans can still enjoy the romance while it lasts. The first kiss delivered exactly the kind of emotional payoff viewers had hoped for, and the chemistry between the characters remains one of the strongest aspects of NCIS Origins. Yet there is a lingering sense of inevitability hanging over every scene. Because audiences know Gibbs's future, every happy moment comes with a question. How does this end? The answer remains a mystery, but one thing seems increasingly clear. Gibbs and Lala's story is unlikely to conclude with a fairy tale ending. Whether fate, duty, grief, or tragedy pulls them apart, the relationship appears destined to become another painful chapter in Gibbs' complicated life. And if the latest hints from the cast are any indication, fans may want to prepare themselves for an emotional storm that